doesn't have the art to do anything just yet. They're looking for the end. the items to do anything. This guy does not for the walks on up, takes it over. Edward doesn't have the items to do anything. This guy does not for the
相変わらずやかましい奴らだ。
今度は背中合わせでいくわよ。
よっしゃ、第7班ここに復活だってばよ。
ここは俺に任せてもらった。4代目他目を超える忍びはお前しかいないと俺はそう信じた。
みんな、渦巻きナルトが帰ってきたぞ。クロノ、力を貸してくれ。よっしゃ、第7班ここに復活だってばよ。
みんなを守るために私はもっと強くなる。やっしゃなら今度は背中合わせでいくわよ。
見せてやるよ、シャリンガンの本当の力をな。力が 湧いてくる。相変わらずやかましい奴らだ。My dear doomed king, the time has come to cast away that frail mortal shell. Join me in eternity.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the auction of the century. I hope you brought your checkbooks and your wits tonight. Let's start the bidding!
The rapid dragon in agile fashion. We jump into action, dashing. Perspectives are clashing. Oh, 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 we're taking on the fight. Jump into the showdown till justice is found. Transform into battle now. Judgment's gavel coming down. Fighting for the righteous justice, fighting for the priceless truth, blurring all the lines between the bad and the good. Yeah, fighting for the justice no matter what we do. Three perspectives sharing one objective, yeah. Everybody's fighting for the truth.
Walks on up, takes it over. Edward doesn't have the items to do anything. This guy, they're looking for the end.
The wait is over, everyone. The NACT 2025 spring season is finally here, and the stakes have never been higher. From 96 teams clawing through the open qualifiers, only 8 remain. Today, the playoffs begin with a cutthroat twist. Single elimination best out of 3s, and by sundown, we'll say goodbye to 4 teams. One loss, one crushing blow, crowd favorites could fall. This is the moment where all hell breaks loose and North America's fight for their tickets to Riyadh becomes do or die. I'm your host, Liz, and joined at the desk today are Steph Weezy and Private Dancer. Long time no see, guys. How y'all doing?
Hey, new faces, a new fire, some veteran teams, and like you said, a grueling qualifiers, and here we are, a brand new NACT. Glad to be a part of the desk.
Yeah, speaking of veterans here, what's better than to have us joined here by Liz, Steph Weezy, Private Dancer, to bring you probably one of the most exciting first rounds we've ever seen in NACT.
Yeah, let's kickstart the most exciting NACT yet with the tournament format. Now, we've already mentioned it's going to be hard. It's going to be single elimination, a lot of stakes at hand. Today, we will see Overskilled versus Villanera, Millenarial versus Area 77, and the second half, we will see Bloodthirsty Kings versus the Valley on day 1, and Vendetta versus Team Eagle. Then they will drop into the semifinals and finals over the span of this weekend.
That's right. Like we said, new faces, veteran teams, a new fire, but also the same hunger to go international. And to be able to see these teams fight it out, man, it's definitely going to be a blast. But today, like Liz mentioned, it's single elimination. So let's make it or break it. You can't afford a mistake.
And what else can be said about this first round as you see that star-studded lineup there? Besides that, there is going to be some heartbreak here tonight. One chance, one opportunity, no lower bracket. You lose here tonight, you're going home.
Yeah, and we know some of the teams are known for their comebacks, and today they might not have the chance for that. So you only have that one shot, and you best bet that shot is your only chance to make it out your way, all the way to Riyadh. So that's going to be very exciting. The champion will represent North America region at the EWC, the MSC 2025, for the biggest prize pool in MLBB history.
Yeah, we got to see this last year. We got to see the team go out for North America to represent NA internationally. It definitely was a blast. I got to even go out there overseas to meet a lot of these teams fighting it out, and to see who's going to raise themselves to the mantle this time for NACT is definitely going to be a treat. But yeah, it's for a ticket to Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, MSC 2025.
Yeah, not just the biggest event of Mobile Legends, not just the biggest event of mobile gaming, but the biggest event in gaming. That is what all of these players, all of these teams here are fighting for, a seat to be reserved to go there. The 2025 champions will be going to EWC. It's going to be a spectacle to behold.
Yeah, and it's going to be a lot of prize pools that they're looking at. I mean, just by making it to the EWC, they're looking at a pretty hefty prize pool and a chance to meet some of their favorites in the esports scene. I know last year we got to see Faker. Maybe not take a picture with Faker, unfortunately, but we get to see players like that. So it's definitely an exciting run for all the teams.
You know, I'm excited. Private kind of dabbled in on it a little bit with how this is one of the biggest events we've had. It might be the shortest format we have had so far, but the amount of players that participated in the qualifiers, the amount of competition that we have on the table today is something we have yet to see in NACT.
And what we have seen... 1 second, Private. The viewers are waiting for something. We have the giveaway ready for everyone. This is usual for the NACT. On the screen, you see a code and a QR code, so make sure you scan that code and to unlock one of these permanent skins. First come, first serve. Have you already unlocked your code, Private?
Oh, yes, I have. I'm not going to lie. I was talking to you guys before. My body and my wallet are a little tired after that Naruto event, so it's nice to be able to get something for free here. Only 30 left, you guys. You need to claim those skins quickly.
I mean, Naruto skin you already have. Why look at any other skins? But for the viewers at home, make sure you are one of the top people to secure these skins.
That's right, a treat from the NACT team to you guys out there supporting North America. Thank you guys for tuning in today to watch these matches alongside us. I know I'm excited, man. I've been taking a look at the qualifiers, seeing a lot of these new faces rise to the occasion, seeing OG teams get knocked down to the lower bracket of the qualifiers, and now to be here in 1 week and to see them all fight it out in a best of 3 for today. 8 teams, make it or break it, single elimination.
Yeah, like we said, it was heartbreaking to watch some of the qualifiers. It's going to be even more gut-wrenching today as we talked about some of these teams we never expected to fight in the first rounds. I mean, we're talking about, we've talked already about Vendetta, Ego. It's going to be BTK versus the Valley, a rematch of last year's finals. And then, of course, we've got Area 77 taking on the New Bloods coming in, the mysterious team that's been taking down veterans on Millenario. And then, of course, setting the standard here is going to be Overskilled taking on their opponents here tonight as well to kind of set that standard and take us right into the beginning of our night.
Yeah, I mean, I know the fans are waiting for the Valley versus BTK rematch. Who knew that would be on the first day? But without further ado, let's actually jump into our first series, Overskilled versus Villain Era. That's going to be our first series of the day for the quarterfinals. You already talked about some of these teams. There are some veteran players, especially in Overskilled as well as Villain Era, but this is really the chance for any underdog team to shine, because just with 3 games, they could potentially take down a veteran.
Yeah, and speaking of veterans, like we said, the OGs versus the new faces, that's the story when it comes to the NACT. But one of the things that we always see is a lot of teams have a hard time bridging that gap from top 8 to top 4, and hopefully this time around with 1 weekend, we get to see a little bit more of a blended competition. And I actually think this may be a chance for us to see it just due to the fact that it's single elimination and best of 3s. That means that this could be a possible age of upsets.
Yeah, I want to say historically, when it comes to these matches, when there's no second chance, when there's no bottom bracket, that has really flopped a lot of the OG teams historically. I mean, BTK, the initial breakup from them, because they lost in the qualifiers to what was then an unknown team with some crazy standards there. As we take a look here at the roster for Overskilled, Liz.
Yeah, Stress Bomby in the XP lane, Myth Bomby in the jungle, Churro Bomby in the mid lane, Kevy Bomby in the roam, and Sleeps in the gold lane. What happened to Bomby there for Sleeps?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Like, what's going on? He's definitely has a message to send. Just look how relaxed. They don't even look phased. There's just no stress across the board for Overskilled.
I was talking about this before. Sleeps lingering there in the dark, maybe sending out a message that's what he's going to be doing to his opponent, putting them to sleep. What a lineup for Overskilled veterans here in North America. They've made the top 8 here before, so they know what it takes. But do they still have what it takes against this? I don't want to say too much of a mystery opponent, because they do still have some OGs.
Yeah, let's see which team Sleeps is going to be trying to put to sleep. For Villain Era, we have Gilla in the XP lane, Afnan in the jungle, Khan in the mid lane, PDR in roam, and Jatizi in the gold lane. I mean, look at that fierce lineup.
Look, I said it about Villain Era, or the other team, Overskilled. I said they had chill faces, right? But this is the exact opposite. Villain Era, man, they're tense. You can just definitely tell. A team of Giga Chads, man. You put all 5 of them at a desk, they're going to be touching shoulder to shoulder, man.
That is just a picture of traps and shoulders connected to each other here. Looks like they met at the gym. Protein shakes all around for these boys, but they are looking to be put a name for themselves. We already know Afnan, PDR have a history here that goes very deep in North America. So hopefully they are spreading that knowledge to the rest of the team to take it down to Overskilled.
Yeah, hopefully PDR spreads some knowledge of gaming for his teammates, and for his teammates to spread some gym knowledge to PDR, because he looks like he need a little bit more protein shakes.
Don't let him hear you say that, But as we are seeing these teams getting ready to face off, this is going to be history in the making, right? Another NACT in the books, another season to see these teams fight it out for a chance to go international. And like we said, the stakes are higher than ever. This is a chance for an MSC spot. This is also no room for error. There's no margin for error with the single elimination.
Yeah, and some great teams here as well. I mean, we talked a little bit about Overskilled, who made it through the first night of qualifiers. I want to say qualifiers that even the Valley struggled to make it through. So they are looking to make a name for themselves here, but they have a team in their way.
Yeah, and there are some shakeups in the drafting and the current meta. So let's be excited for how the teams are going to perform with this current meta and up against some tough opponents. Now, without further ado, casters, take us into the first draft.
And it's a bird, it's a plane. Oh, wait a second. It is going to be a draft here in a second, but nonetheless... I had to get my glasses, man. I swore I saw something for a minute, Private.
The one thing I'm really excited about is because we saw from the qualifiers just coming off of the eve of a patch, not a huge patch, not like a complete meta changing, but little things have moved around. Valiers moved around. Some of our healers have moved around. We're going to see how this kind of shakes up through some of these drafts that we're going to put out.
Yeah, I love how you kind of talked about the recent patch, right? We haven't seen too much of a shakeup since the M series, right? Not too many things changed, but a couple of revamps, came out of nowhere, which definitely took the world by storm in the MLBB scene. I mean, you've got Kimmy with the new revamp. You've got Glue with the new revamp. It definitely can wreak some havoc, and I wonder if we're going to be seeing a little bit of that today. And as we always see in the NACT, the meta will start to shift as we get closer and closer to that grand finals. And so far, I would say this is kind of textbook, right? That Mathilda, that Fanny ban, the Kalia, it can definitely get taken out as well. So we're going to have to see how this goes. But nonetheless, this is game number 1. Remember, it's a best of 3, Overskilled up against Villain Era. A couple of familiar names from both sides, but definitely I would say a lot more seniority when it comes to the OGs versus the new faces. The seniority usually has the better half of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to tell here. I think initially I did go with Overskilled here because they did make it through the first round. So it's kind of hard to bet against a team that has the momentum like that. Here, as we're seeing in the draft, we're kind of getting through a lot of those supports, a lot of those mechanical heroes that can get the stuns out there, that can get people away or help with the engagements. Some of the assassins, I'm assuming Joy might be on that list as well to get banned off. And then we're going to start looking possibly for some of those fighter pickups. And if it is going to be a fighter pickup, what I've noticed has been kind of a routine for a lot of people right now has been a priority of Valier. With some of his changes he's had, that little fire pool that he's able to put down, the CC he gets from that, he can basically spam that from mid-game, which really becomes this huge problem for a lot of those slower fighters, those slower tank front lines through the mid-game.
You talk about him, and we talk about another mage we've been seeing a lot of, the Sicilian. He's been coming out left and right and definitely can wreak havoc. I know it got a little bit of some readjustment when it came to the mid-game on how fast his stacks can actually take off to make up for that, but it's still been a dominant force. Speaking of dominant forces, the goal lane has still been a very big problem. Even with the recent patch, they've been trying to kind of limit how fast the goal laners can take off. But man, they're still going off at a pretty fast rate. The Granger, even getting a little bit of a nerf, is still one of those heavy hitters that we might be seeing super early in the draft.
Yeah, you mentioned Granger got a nerf. He's still up there, still is able to scale very well. They cannot do enough to him. He's one of my favorite heroes, so Newton, you can't stop. You can't stop. We can leave him where he's at right now. He's one of my favorite marksmen out there. But man, they have really kept that hammer on him. And speaking of marksmen, you talked about it. That revamp on Kimmy has made her a priority here, at least for Overskilled.
Yeah, Kimmy is definitely going to be a problem. I mean, with the revamp, has additional CC in her kit as well. It's definitely very mobile. you're going to have to watch out for that. And not to mention, she can continuously blast. Once she fills up that energy, she can shoot all the way through you to everybody in the back line, which could be definitely a problem. You need somebody to be able to kind of kite around and get to the back line. A Joy getting taken off the table is going to be very hard. Maybe a CC. Lucas, it could definitely be an option as well to be able to get back there and wreak some havoc.
Yeah, really interesting, especially for Kimmy. For me right now, I'm actually kind of curious. Because I've heard mixed reviews about Kimmy when she's in the gold lane. Ranking myself, I've experienced her against her in the mid lane, and she kind of shines there. So I'm wondering if opening with this allows Overskilled a little bit of juggling possibilities, because we don't exactly know where it's going to go. We see it was Sleeps who picked it up. He is their gold laner, so it might be kind of cornering himself, keeping that in the gold lane, but it does allow some very tanky and CC heavy picks coming from Villain Era, especially with that Gatakacha pickup.
Yeah, and speaking of pickups, there goes another revamped hero, the double revamp combination over there from Overskilled. They're going to go ahead and pick up Glue as well, which I think is an excellent pickup. I mean, you get that regen with the Slam, able to definitely have a heavy impact. The Suyo to combine with that as well. It's a strong frontline composition, but when you look at the other side, they have double frontline as well. Could be good for the Kimmy to possibly be able to burst them down, but definitely needs to watch out as the Gatot, the Lucas, both of them are great at closing the distance.
Yeah, one thing here I'm wondering is what we're going for with that mage pick. You mentioned earlier Sicilian, who will do good against the Glue. We're looking for something that does area of effect type of damage. Sicilian can throw down that area. Vexana's another big one. Aurora, even though we haven't seen too much from Aurora, I want to say, in the past few months as a priority, I think here might be very good, especially for an engagement composition that we're seeing here from Overskilled. And if we don't go with a mage here from Villain Era, you can bet that's going to be something that Overskilled is going to be looking to deny. And they do. They go with the Claude.
Okay, so they're going to lock in that Claude. It's going to be great to be able to scale. Has some great AoE damage on top of that, and is very mobile. It's a very good hero to be able to stay alive in that gold lane, especially if Overskilled decides to try and gank down there. The survivability in the gold lane is definitely working. I would say survivability overall for Villain Era's looking pretty solid. So we'll have to see how that plays in. We've yet to see a mage slotted for either side, and now we're possibly going to be seeing a lot of those banned off the table. You mentioned you'd like to see a little bit of that crowd control come to effect. I feel like both sides, crowd control for Villain Era is pretty solid. I would say it's lacking for Overskilled. Yes, Kimmy has a little bit of crowd control, but is it enough to really rely on? That's going to be what we're keeping a close eye on today.
Yeah, and you can start seeing some of the mages already being banned out by Villain Era. Kimmy, she does pack a punch now when it comes to the CC. I want to say her second ability now can kind of stick you, root you in place. Her ultimate now has I was gonna say a sucking ability. It brings everybody together after after it's done. So I mean, she's a pretty heavy CC marksman when it comes to it. It's sometimes I want to say she lacks a little bit in the early game. So we're gonna see if Overskilled maybe pays a little bit more attention when it comes to the routing of there. Another I want to say Roam / mage taken out for the side of Overskilled as they take out that Nether Realm in the form of their pick.
Now, I would say a Farza. I'm expecting that to get picked up. A Farza, Sicilian maybe from either side would be great here. The Beatrix being taken off the table. If you pick up the Farza for the side of Overskilled, it could be a little risky, but I mean, at least you have the survivability aspect, right? I mean, you're looking at a Gatot able to drop down with that AOG. You're looking at this Lucas to be able to get there with the Sacred Beast form. Not to mention a Claude with the Blazing Duet to be able to get there with the BMIs. You don't want to have two stationary mages. If you go Sicilian, it could work out. Yeah, you fight from afar, but if they close that distance, it could cause some trouble.
Yeah, and the thing about Gatakacha, depending on what this Lucas is going to be playing, if he's playing in the XP lane, fine. Then we have something that can set the tone for Gatakacha. The one thing that a lot of teams, they have issues with is they pick up the Gatakacha and they expect him to initiate with that Avatar the Guardian. And that just takes so long. Everybody sees it coming. You need something to set the tone for it, to set the CC so that in the middle of the fight, then he can spring that ult out and it really connects on there. You're right on the dot as Farja gets scooped up by Villain Era. It accomplishes a lot of goals, staying in that back line, being able to lay down a lot of that AoE damage, which they're going to need. But are they going to have enough protection for the Farja, especially with the high-lows? I was waiting for this pickup to come immediately, because as soon as that feathered airstrike comes down, we're going to have a glorious pathway so the team can try to connect on her right away.
Okay, so we're seeing Kimmy as the mid laner for this one, so we're going to see that Moskov put in the gold lane. Interesting. We'll see how this double marksman composition works out against Villain Era. Still one pick left for the Giga Chat over there. See what Villain Era decides to close this out with, but it's definitely going to be a treat to watch. Now, the Farza being slotted in on the side of Villain Era, it's great because there's a lot more mobility. Farza got a lot of buffs. Where not only skill 1 able to mark the enemy's position now more effectively, but a movement speed on the Wings by Wings has been increased as well. So the mobility can definitely work in the favor to not only engage but disengage in tricky situations.
I think we got these a little mixed up here. I believe Gilla on the CC is going to be in the XP lane. Farja, you're absolutely right, is going to be in the mid lane. And Farja works, especially against a double marksman composition. As soon as she gets that ultimate, that is just an intense amount of suppressive fire coming down. Even if you are able to close the distance on her, you still have to survive that initial onslaught. 1, 2, maybe even 3 strikes, especially because after she lands the first hit, she can get that stun on you as well. So it's all going to be about how Overskilled can initiate to stop that feathered airstrike and how Villain Era can protect the Farja as well during these.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we jump into game number 1. The match you guys have been waiting for. The season has started for NACT Spring. You've got 2 amazing competitors going head-to-head, Overskilled versus Villain Era.
I am so excited. And what more could you ask for, too? We got a little sneak peek at some of those Naruto skins out there on the field. Both teams looks like they're, I want to say, Villain Era just slightly behind when it comes to clearing out the jungle here. Kevy doing a good job making sure he's getting that information and feeding it to his team.
And I love how you asked the question about, like, what was Kohari going to run, or where was Gatot and where was the Lucas going to go, and now we're going to go ahead and see that in full effect. But yeah, I think the story for today is definitely, first blood already, PDR taking down Stress Bomby.
Yeah, Villain Era doing a great job reading the field, being aware, and reacting immediately. Stress needs to know that he's not going to be able to make those plays if he does not have an escape. Even used his flicker and still died.
Yeah, this is the revamped glue, man. What's going on? He needs a double revamp. You got to be careful, man. Falling that early can definitely be costly. Villain Era, they have a slight advantage, and not to mention, I like the way their composition is stacked, right? As long as Kong is able to kind of rush around with this Farza on the double marksman composition, they got to be very careful on their positioning, or he'll be able to burst them down.
Yeah, you can see right there. PDR doing a good job. He did take a little bit of damage, but that's what he's there for. Got it, Katja. Stay in front of those bushes. Make sure that he is that front line, protecting the squishies in the back, protecting Kong, still putting out some damage there. And here we're going to see is we're still just about a 1 for Villain Era, waiting on this first turtle and waiting on that fight.
Ooh.
Stressed actually goes down there again, and that is unfortunate as Villain Era looks to have a firm control. Big feathered airstrike comes out, takes down Churi with the help of Gilla on the back line, and that is going to be a free turtle for Villain Era.
Yeah, Stress Bomby having a very stressful time finding his proper footing in the beginning of this match. Now 2 deaths in. Even with the Brave Smite, even with the skill HP regen to be able to sustain himself, it's not enough, especially this early in the game. And Villain Era, they're punishing.
Yeah, and this is exactly the value. And this aren't even the marksmans just yet. You have a Kong doing such a great job of nailing down Stress, being able to put down that damage. We were talking about this. AoE is the big killer for Glue right now because you're able to hit all of him, all of his little minions as well. PDR taking a heap of damage on the 50%. Glorious Pathway is out. Kevy onto the back line. Kong putting down that suppressive fire with the feathered airstrike. Bomby ready for the hills, and there goes PDR into the back line, trying to put some damage on, and down goes Myth. Kevy on the run, looking for an escape. Even with the healing, he is taken down as well, and Streth jumped into the midst of it, but he is not long for this world. Kong with the flicker onto him is gonna be taken out.
Yeah, it's Overskilled trying to be a little aggressive, trying to find their footing, but again, it's still not working in their favor. Got to be very careful, or they're going to find themselves in a hole they can't climb out of. You're already seeing a gold lead by 2K, a big stun, and Kong finding Churobami.
It was actually expertly played by Sleeps there, waiting for Farja to bring out that ultimate and then use the stun to take him out. But still, we still had Churro go down to the damage from that. And this is what we were talking about. Even if you are able to bring down Kong, you're still talking about 1 or 2 shots, and that's still a whole lot of damage.
Speaking of damage, Kevy Bami, Glorious Pathway, trying to get out. AOG dropping down.
Yeah, PDR looking for a little bit of an escape. In comes a Sleeps, traps him against the wall. Nice set or attempt there by Churros. Not going to be able to find it. They latch onto Kong. The split on top of the Mage's head. You can take a look here in the back line. Kahari fighting for the life, trying to go in, finds a kill on Sleeps. Skilla finds one onto Churro, and they are not done as Kevy finds himself in the afterlife, and they are looking for another one onto Stressed. And what is it? They does get himself away, but we are looking at a 2-11 lead for Villain Era.
A massive push forward for Villain Era, able to stampede through, able to take the turtle, take several kills along the way. 11-2 at only the 5-minute mark. We're looking at 4,000 of a gold lead, and this is a very hard situation for Overskill. They went really unorthodox, right? The double marksman combination, and typically when you have this combo, you want to let them get their farm, get their gold, so they can hit like a truck, but now being behind, you're looking at the death counters climbing. Churobami, 3 deaths on his side, Sleeps, 2 deaths on his side as well, but on the other side, Kong, great placement with the feathered airstrike, 2-0-7, 7 assists so far, the highest in the game.
Yeah, and this right now, I want to say this kind of comes down to a composition that needed some time to get online. And right now, with the point that they're at, Stressed Bommy 0-3 right now, there's very little that he can do for his team. You want your roam to be able to sit in front. You want him to be able to check bushes. But at this point, if he checks the wrong bush, that is going to be by Stressed here for another kill. 0-2 right now. We're about a 4K lead. It's not completely out of the books just yet for Overskilled.
Yeah, not out of the books just yet, but definitely a rocky road of a start, as you are seeing some of them items on the board. Even if you look at the gold lane, right? Corrosion Sight, Demon Hunter Sword picked up over there by Jatizi, so he's going to be able to hit pretty hard and pretty fast, so they are going to have to watch out for him as he decides to kind of wrap around and engage. He hasn't really picked up on the kills yet, but those items are definitely going to count when it matters the most. But the story right now is really between Gilla and Kong. Their synergy to be able to wrap around and find these pickoffs has been crucial for Villain Era.
Ooh, interesting fight here. They do go in against Sleeps. You can see him try to go on, and he might be taken out. He's doing a good job, but I don't think he's long for this world. We do see a BMI there from Jottizi, and they're going to go ahead and find themselves another tower. But they trade that for a mid tower.
Yeah, not just any tower. Tier 1, but a big play.
Yeah, coming in, Kohari actually gets jumped and maybe out of position here. Myth does find himself a turtle. Kevin locked on. We do have the air strike coming down from Kong, trying to put the damage on. Stressed with the split covering the escape of his team. And just like that, Overskilled starting to find themselves a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, it's huge being able to take that tier 1 turret in the mid lane. That opens up a lot of opportunity to be able to invade inside of the enemy's jungle, and I would trade that for an off lane tier 1 turret any day of the week. But again, the economy is steady rising for the side of Villain Era, but it's only a 3K gold lead. It's honestly a little impressive with how much the kills have been working in their favor. How Overskilled is still trying to hang in there, but you are seeing a lot of these items start to stack up, and they're going to have to watch out, right? That's when it's going to start getting toward that 10-minute mark. We're going to see a couple of these power spikes hit up. We're going to see Jatizi really start rushing in and having a major effect, and they have yet to find an answer to get around a Kong 6 on this Farza.
Yeah, and that's been the problem here. But as we move later into the game, as the damage becomes a problem, as the split pushing ability from a Moskov becomes a problem, they're going to start hitting at all of these different angles that Villain Era is going to need to be prepared for. Not just in their fights, but watching all over the map. As you see, they're starting to slow down. They're with that middle tower taken down. It opens up the map, and it means that Villain Era needs to start turtling. They need to be afraid of where they're going, which is allowing Overskilled to just traipse all over the map, take towers that they want.
Yeah, they're going to have to be careful. There's still a shot, an opportunity for Overskilled to flip the script and take advantage of this game. Had a very hard early start, but now it seems like they are starting to find their composure, and I definitely agree with you right there, right? Keep a close eye on Sleeps. Watch his positioning, right? He's kind of traversing across the map, a little bit of some solo action, but he has that SOD to be able to, at a moment's notice, traverse across the map and find that opportunity that Overskilled can lean on. And especially as he starts to stack these items, he's going to be a problem. Golden Staff now picked up by Jatizi as well. Those enhanced basic attacks can definitely be a threat as we see the Lord spawn in.
And as we're moving into the mid, going into the late game, you see this great macro coming from Overskilled. They pushed 2 lanes that need to be answered by Villain Era, and immediately that signals to Overskilled to start on this Lord. We do have the glorious pathway onto the ground, 10% on this Lord. It has been reset on the backline. Myth looking for an opportunity. Kohari dives in, gets pushed back by a spear and taken down. Myth with the kill onto Kohari. That means Villain Era does not have their jungler coming in with a blazing duet, and Jatizi gets taken down by Sleeps. Turning this around is Overskilled. 2 for 3 right now. Down goes Gilla, and Kong alone flapping back to base to tell the story with 3 up for Overskilled.
Catching lightning in a bottle is what we've just witnessed from Overskilled. Kong trying to use a feathered airstrike on his way out, but Overskilled has done it. They have found the needle in the haystack, and they have pulled it out. The Lord now marching on the bottom side.
Yeah, and especially with the macro that they've been doing, forcing these lanes, the Lord's probably going to get him a tier 2 tower. If they split up, they might get another one up at top. There's the macro here, and this is a huge lesson for all teams, for all viewers when it comes to macro and that early game, especially with how belligerent Villain Era was able to get a lot of those early kills on Overskilled. They remained calm. They made the right exchanges that they needed, especially in the mid lane. Speaking of which, PDR gonna have to use his ultimate defensively to get away, and that's all she wrote for that bottom lane. Meanwhile, Kahari diving onto the back line against 3 members. Nobody's there to help him. In comes PDR for the backup. Down goes